Okay, thank you all for joining us today. We're thrilled to welcome you to the seventh program in our Judaica Project lecture series. In these monthly Zoom sessions on Judaica, Jewish art, and what these mean to you, speakers present a different type of or topic relating to Judaica or Jewish art in order to prompt discussion with and among the audience. Attendees are invited to ask questions and share their own experiences at the end of this session. This series is a collaboration with the Peter C. Hereld House for Jewish Life at Quinnipiac University, and is made possible by a generous grant the uh, from the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven. This afternoon, we're welcoming back Rabbi Reena Judd, who was the speaker for our first session. Rabbi Judd is going to share her extensive and varied Menorah collection with us. She has been the campus rabbi and director of the Peter C. Hereld House for Jewish Life at Quinnipiac University since 2005. She's an avid Judaica collector whose home is filled with vibrant art of all kinds, and we're very happy to be doing this from Reena's home today as well. Welcome, Reena.
Great to see you. Great to be here.
Did Reena turn her camera on?
I don't have a camera.
So okay. So we're going to start today with some terminology.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with what is a menorah.
Okay.
And what is a Hanukkah?
Okay. So a menorah technically is a light.
Right.
And if you live in Israel and you have a corner that has a light,
okay,
it has a menorah.
Okay.
If you have a living room, turn on the menorah.
Okay.
Turn on the light. This is a traditional Jewish symbolic menorah.
Okay.
It has 6 lights for candles and a center.
Right.
And this is described in the Torah.
Right.
And when I'm teaching my kids, my students, and I tell them, because we have a big giant menorah in our little room,
okay,
I'll say, what is it? And they'll say, it's a big candelabra. No. Now remember, it was placed in the dark. It was used in the dark.
Okay.
So it's just a light. And the kid's like, it's a light, just a light. Well, it's a Jewish light, but it's a menorah. And if it has 6 or less, it's a menorah.
Right.
And you can use it anytime.
Okay.
And there's no logic to the order of the lighting of the candles.
Okay.
So if you need a little light, you put one. If you need a lot of light, you put all of them and you hope it doesn't burn out.
Okay.
A Hanukkah is a specific candelabra. Wait a minute. I know.
Okay.
I know I'm running. My handy dandy yard.
Okay.
It has 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a shamash.
Right.
And the purpose of the shamash is to light the individual candles. While this might look,
are you interested in this?
shamash,
right.
It's
Okay.
not. It's just the center.
Right.
And the way that this was originally used was it was on a pole,
Right.
and the pole was put into the earth to stand there because they're walking through the desert.
Okay.
Whereas this has always had a base,
Right.
and it's designated specifically for Hanukkah.
Right. Okay.
And Hanukkah comes from educate, lechanech, to educate, to dedicate,
okay,
education. So the purpose of the tool is as an instrument of education as well.
Okay. So that gets us to something that we kind of touched on while we were getting ready for this, which is the role of an electric menorah. Right.
Right.
So
Rabbi just talked about that.
Right. So an electric menorah is, well, so electric Hanukkah, because you do get
It
electric
has the
menorahs
same-
as lights, right, and decoration in synagogues.
The same eight,
Right.
eight with the distinguished special shamash. It doesn't have to be in the center. It can be anywhere,
Right.
but it has to be distinguishable. Like this one has a candelabra of 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the shamash is distinguishable. This I know it's so
Right, a
cool.
separate shamash, which is, we have another example of that. So, and there's a distinction when it comes to electric menorahs, that the mitzvah of lighting a Hanukkah is done with candles,
A
or
candle.
ideally oil, because the miracle was that the oil lasted for 8 days.
Right, I'm looking for my water.
And a electric menorah is considered, it fulfills a different mitzvah.
It fulfills the mitzvah of spreading the miracle.
Right, the
Of educating
education,
the masses.
educating about the miracle.
Mhm.
And yeah, and
Wait a minute.
yeah,
Sorry. Okay, go.
so
This is Mimi. Can I add something to it, please?
yeah, Mimi, go ahead.
Okay. The electric, we didn't have any electric menorahs in Israel when I grew up. I just had it
Okay.
here. We put it so it can be faced the street. It's
Right.
safer. If you have a menorah with candles and you have your curtains, God
Right.
forbid there's a fire.
Yep.
But
And to
the real
piggyback on that, Mimi, so in Israel now, they have the little boxes outside of your front door that you can put your menorahs in.
Okay, that
Oh.
sounds great. I haven't seen them, but I'm very excited about it.
They're
So,
great.
okay, and the menorah that you showed that had the 7 branches is also the emblem of Israel.
Right.
Okay, and
Right,
it's
if you
also
look
there's
at-
a big one that's like this in front of the government building in
Right.
Israel. Okay, so
Right. And it's also at the airport.
yeah,
It's the first thing you see when you go outside.
Yeah, and like the state seal,
Yeah.
the seal of the Knesset, those are all that features a menorah.
Right.
In yeah, that's how.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and electric menorahs, right, which Mimi got at, have their own history, which I've been really fascinated by. I haven't really found anyone writing about it. And that's, I always put that out there. If anybody knows anything about the development of the electric menorah as a phenomena in Judaica, let me know.
We have about 4.
Right, and you have a
Well-
bunch of really nice. I mean, this one is, I like this one, but there's a slightly larger one with the 10 Commandments,
Okay.
and one that says, one with Shalom featuring prominently on it as well. So we have slightly different visual languages to all of the different
Here are the 10 Commandments.
electric menorahs. Yeah.
And the moving parts. I love the moving parts. of
Yeah.
it.
And it's interesting that, well, these two electric menorahs have similar visual languages, and then the one that says Shalom, I mean, it's similar. They're all from the same
They're all
time
from the
period.
same
They have
genre,
slightly
right.
different motifs, but they look very similar.
This one is brass,
Right.
whereas these have been oxidized.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So
Pretty.
back to terminology before we
Okay.
get too far off. So we know the difference between a menorah and a Hanukkah. I've in reading, occasionally some of the Jewish orgs will put out like style guides about like using using Hebrew in English and different stuff. So what I was usually taught was that if you're writing in English, it's easiest to do menorah and menorahs instead of menorot, instead of like a Hanukkahs, Hanukkahot. So where do you come down on that? What words do you usually use?
I use menorah, menorot.
Okay.
I spell Hanukkah every single way.
That was my next
I
question.
spell it every way, CHA with 2 Ks and an H at the end. At this point, I don't care. Everybody understands what I mean.
Okay.
And
Okay.
latkes, is it Latkes or Latkas?
Oh, ES.
Whatever. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah,
I mean, transliteration is a whole thing.
it is.
Yeah.
It's an exercise unto itself.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That one I've never seen before as an AS.
The hardest one is with the CH because so many people
Yes.
can't get it.
Yeah.
And then they end up saying Judaica.
Right. Right.
And that just makes my skin crawl.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
Jews who can't cut.
Yeah.
It's like a bagel with no locks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's a lot of covering that, and I'm sure
And
other
also,
people will
it's
have
the
opinions.
Shamish.
Yeah.
That, part of your language, you have to know the Shamish.
Right.
That lights the other candle.
Right. I'm sure other people will have opinions on that. Then we'll have
Sure.
some discourse at the end as well. So when did you start? When and how did you start collecting Menorah? And what was kind of your first one?
So my grandparents
Okay.
went to Israel in 1950. Where do I look? There.
There.
1958.
Okay.
And they brought back this menorah,
Okay.
which is Nes Gadol Haya How.
Okay.
A great miracle happened here. And this was my mother's menorah.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it was different
Okay.
until I got to Israel and I realized that mine was more like the ones in Israel than it was
Okay.
like the ones here. I just never thought about it. And I had this one, my little cute.
Okay.
And as I got older and as I got to experience art in Israel,
Yeah.
it's different because in my opinion, when you live in Israel and you do art in Israel, there's an organicness
Okay.
to it that I have never encountered
Mhm.
here. And I fell in love with them. This was one of my very first ones. My father gave it to me, and it is in Yemenite sterling,
Okay.
and the silver is woven.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it comes apart so you can take it apart.
Right.
And when you clean it, but I love the patina.
Yeah.
And then when I finished the army in Israel, I got this one as a gift from
Okay.
one of my adopted families. And it's of olive wood and it has the 1967 boundaries. But this one, like the curtains Mimi was talking about,
Okay.
you have to be really careful that
Right.
it doesn't burn.
Right.
Because if the candle gets too low and drips, it burns.
Okay.
So that's a pow, and it has the symbol of Israel on it
Okay.
right there. And then this one, also a pow,
Right.
is from when Israel was 10 years old.
Right.
And I got this one, I think, I got this one someplace where they had no idea what it was. And I spent like $2. Most of them I got from people that had no idea what they were. So I don't want to cross.
So
Should I go under?
well, I'm gonna start by
yeah.
showing some of these up a little bit closer.
Okay.
So this is what we were talking about in terms of one of the first menorahs that Reena had from Israel.
That was my mom's first menorah, and that was mine.
And we have like a little birthday candle one, which I'm sure.
Which I
you're all
have
familiar
1970 candles.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Look at that.
Okay.
Original box.
That's really cool.
I know.
And then this is the olive wood, with the 1967 borders, which is pretty interesting.
It is.
Of course, I want it to be this way, like a map, but with the shamash and the seal,
insignia.
it really is meant to be that way. And this
That one I
was
got at
the
like
10th.
Goodwill or
Yeah.
Salvation.
10th anniversary of the state of Israel, and
So
yeah,
so
and then
we'll move on to a
show
different.
this one as
Okay,
well.
yeah,
This was the. You call this Moroccan or Yemenite? Or-
yeah,
Okay.
Yemenite, and it's all handmade and hand soldered together.
And then this one, I wanted to show this one off briefly. This is from the 80s, and it's sterling silver, but it has the removable shamash.
We got that from
I think
congregants
it's really interesting.
when we got married.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And
Excuse me.
Yeah,
This is Mimi. Reena,
Yeah.
can you
yeah.
please hold up the menorah that your father gave you? Okay. And tell us who your father was in connection to the Jewish Historical Society.
He wasn't. He was just a Jew.
No,
What's your-
to the Historical Society.
I
He
don't
was
know.
he was a president
Manfred
point.
Wasserman.
of the Historical Society.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he did. And he was wonderful. And we're sorry that we lost him, but that must be
You know that you lost him because they got divorced.
What was his name?
Manfred Wasserman, and he was an archivist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. And my parents came up here, and they
Oh.
came from Baltimore, Maryland, in 1963 in October, and my dad had a job at Beinecke,
Oh, that's awesome.
and then they got divorced, and he went and worked at National Institutes of Health, and mom went to Quinnipiac.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that, Mimi. I think that's
No.
awesome.
I
Wow.
must apologize. I was thinking of Mr. Harari.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, he was not my dad.
Right, right. So I
But my dad,
apologize.
That's okay.
he lived in Israel for 10 years, and he ended up archiving Einstein's collection after it left Princeton.
Oh, you did mention that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Life is cool.
Yeah.
So he got me this menorah. Well, not really. When he passed, she gave it to me. I got it.
Okay. So we wanted to show some others. So do you have a favorite?
I do. So I have to make a pitch for Gatsby online auction.
Right.
Randy Marks is where I get. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Where I get my favorite Judaica. And
Okay, so this one, let me show this. Let me hold this up.
it's from about 1957, I
Yeah.
bet. And it's just perfect. It's in perfect condition, and it's beautiful. And you can see it was probably lost wax that they would make this from. And it's rare, it's gorgeous, it's special. It's not very big, it's only 5 inches, but it's beautiful. And
But
then
I think the thing that really interests me about that menorah is the decorative style with the brass and the painted the paint the kind of
detailed
the
painting.
detailed painting.
Yeah.
So can you talk
That
a little
would've
bit more
been
about that
top
style and where it originates from in terms of like Israeli like souvenir
process art
art
in
or
Israel.
yeah.
Yeah. So the once Israel developed its own economics and its artists began to express themselves, there's always been a fantastic art school in Jerusalem
Mhm.
called Bitzalel.
Okay.
And it makes every kind of functional art. It makes covers for Sidurim. It makes menorot. It makes candlesticks for Shabbat. And it basically established this kind with the green fused patina
Okay.
that isn't really patina but meant to look like patina.
Okay.
First came this, and it's on almost every. First came the bronze
Right.
with no color. This is from after the 56 war. Then, after that, after the straight green, we start to see pieces individually painted
Okay.
by hand and put out for sale as such. And then, like all art, you have various levels. And this would be the highest level of craftsmanship.
Right.
It's not artistry as this one. There's a difference. This is a piece of art by any standards.
Mhm.
This is a lovely crafted menorah.
Mhm.
And I do think it is particularly artistic, but at a different level than silversmith. And I think
Okay.
that's really important. But I also think woodworking. This is a handmade, signed R. Joseph
Mhm.
menorah. It was gifted to me, and it is beautiful. It's all hand carved. It's I have no idea how old it is, but I've had it for about 15 years.
Okay. And who gifted it to you?
One of my kids' old friends.
Really? Okay.
He saw it at a flea market.
Okay. So the crazy thing about this menorah is that if you look at the American Jewish Historical Society's social media, they just posted a photo of a Hanukkah party from a highest group in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that from the 60s that has exactly the same menorah.
Yeah.
So we don't know, obviously, if it is the same piece, but it's the same maker and designer, absolutely. There's no confusing it.
No. So this is another craft menorah. This was my mother's family of origin, and she used it her whole life. It has the Lions of Judah, and it has a menorah, the symbol of Israel, not a Chanukiah. And I use it. We one night, usually the last night, we light them all with
Okay.
candles. We take out the batteries. This is our family menorah. It's Jim's favorite. It was gifted by our congregation in Hattiesburg
Okay.
for the first Hanukkah. And here is a very basic but handmade brass menorah that I got for $1. They're all from Israel. This is another one that moves. And this is from a time in the art from the 60s. And when I find it for sale, they refer to the art school as barbaric, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's very raw,
Uh-huh.
very rough. And my last really particular one is this one. It's quite large, takes large candles. It's all brass. And then I have more, but there's no more room on the table.
Okay. So I want to make sure that people see some of these. So this is that
With the shamash.
brass decorative style that we were talking about. And this is that the Judd family menorah that Reena was talking about.
And it's interesting because this one came out in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And after that, you could start to see these catalogs. And they
Right.
had ones with Mickey Mouse and
Right.
Noah's Ark. And most of my other ones have always been very traditional.
And then
here's the last one, the all-time favorite.
right. And so these are the two, visual styles that people will really recognize. This kind of, which I've seen referred to as a Polish style menorah. Most of them were produced from a mold probably in the Lower East Side in the 30s. And my family I know has one of these. We have one in our collection at the Jewish Historical Society. And then this visual language, a little bit simpler, with the Star of David featured prominently, is something that people will also recognize. Really the kind of big candelabra style too.
Yeah.
Are often in
You
that
can
style.
find those in a whole bunch of sizes.
Yeah. And now these are two that are really cool.
Yes.
So this is kind of a
that's again granite silver.
And it's a menorah, right? And it's also a set of Shabbat candles. And so this is really, I would describe this, and I think I would see it described like in thrift things and antique things as a travel menorah and a travel candlestick set.
Yep.
And this one is one that I really am interested by. So you said that this was another menorah of your mother's?
Of my mom's family, yeah,
Okay.
very old.
And yeah, it's very old. It's solid brass. And the visual language of this is totally different from what we would recognize today in menorahs. So obviously it's it's for oil as well, but
a candle though.
And the shamash was to light the oil.
It's very much a bridge into modern menorahs.
Yeah, and we have some pieces missing here and here, but it has a flower, and it has like a lyre in the middle, and it has a fleur de lis.
Yeah.
And it's just totally.
I'm sure there was a Magen David there.
It's just a very different visual language and symbolic language that I think is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Reena? Reena?
What?
It's Michael Dimmenstein.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
So I have that one that that Jake just held, and with the pieces that are missing, there's a bird on the top.
Oh, wow. A bird in the flowers.
I don't know if you can see it.
Let me show Michael. Hold on one second. Okay, so everyone should be able to see Michael now.
And
that's beautiful. Oh, look, those are candles.
Yeah.
We've got the candles on the top, the oil wells in the bottom, and there's a dove on the top.
Wow.
Are you sure it's a dove? I'll bet that's American made. I'll bet that's an eagle.
I don't think so. But
does it come off?
I think it came over from the old country. This belonged to my grandfather.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I'm amazed. It has both the candles. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think that also it speaks to that menorah having a totally different visual language too. The fact that it has a dove, and that's really I wonder if that I'm gonna have to see if that is in like Jewish museums, some of the other big Jewish fine art museums, because that would be really interesting to learn more about that.
Yes, that would.
Okay, so we've gone through all the menorahs, and I will warn people. So it's almost 2:40 right now. Normally we would keep this to an hour. I am gonna let us run a little bit longer. But if people have to go at 3, no problem. So we talked about the styles. We talked about all the menorahs. We talked about electric menorahs. Do you have, before we move on to a little bit different thing, is there any other thoughts you have about
Me?
the menorahs? Yeah.
I just think they're beautiful. I think it's really interesting how through the centuries and through our evolution, different artists have both interpreted so individually, as well as you can pretty much look at any menorah and know exactly what it is immediately. But yet they're all so unique. They're so different. They're so
That's
beautiful.
true.
The little one of the state of Israel,
Mhm.
it's just that it lasted, that it didn't burn up, that it didn't get broken. It's, unbelievable.
I do regret that we don't have any really recent menorahs. I don't know if anybody's seen like the
Yeah.
banana menorah or anything like that, which is a meme right now. But I will post some stuff like that on our social media, so people
I
can check
would
that out
never
as
buy
well.
those.
No,
find
I don't, not
them
interested in it.
taking the sacredness out
Mm.
when they're that common to me as a I mean, these menorahs are both artist and holy.
Mhm.
And there's just no way a banana can do that. And I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. But that's just my personal taste.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a value you place on the symbolic language as well as the artistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every one of these, that person that crafted it really thought about
Yeah.
what I want to point this is the newest one in my collection. I just got it.
This one is the one you've gotten most recently.
My brother-in-law gave that to me,
Great.
and it's just brutal.
Yeah.
Like you can see,
It's sharp. It has jagged. It has angles,
and yet it's solid. It's not going to be blown over in the wind.
Yeah.
And you can feel the aggression coming off of that.
Yeah.
That's intentional. That artist is making a statement.
Yeah.
You can push it, but we're gonna get you back. And I
Mhm.
think that's so interesting.
It is a really interesting one. It would be interesting to learn more about the origins of that as
When
well.
I kept looking for someplace where was it made,
Yeah.
it has
No,
marks.
nothing. Really interesting. So, no discussion of how. So we're focusing on menorahs,
So,
obviously.
but like these menorahs,
Yeah.
they all have words. Hanero, Halalu, Kadoshem. And that's part of these candles of rejoicement are holy. We
Okay.
praise these candles. So there's words on some of the menorahs, and some of them have no words. Some of them, this one of this one from 10 years old, I don't know, means something to me now when Israel's having such a hard time,
Mhm.
They're all special.
Yeah. So we wanted to in addition to menorahs, we wanted to talk about dreidels. So let's talk about dreidels in general.
I would like to
Yeah,
say
Ellen, go
something
ahead.
about menorahs
Yeah.
before you go on.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the little tin menorahs that every child got in Sunday school when I was a kid?
Yep.
They are not works of art. They're just made from folded tin.
I haven't. I didn't get one. I've seen them
Yeah, I've seen
in
them.
catalogs. Do you have one?
No.
Oh,
My mother must have
Because, like-
thrown them away.
they have another variant of that of just pressed metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Ellen, there's a box of them in Michigan Israel's book room.
Oh, okay.
Of the pressed metal ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll
We
come
got 'em
by.
every year.
I'll give you your own.
I'll let you. I'll
Okay.
take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting one to bring up too, because it's never gone away, right? Like you remember that from your childhood, but they still manufacture new,
Yeah. that's what
menorahs that
I
are
did.
just, yeah, exactly.
And I give
That are
them to
just,
my students.
yeah, folded metal, pressed metal,
Yeah.
very thin. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really interesting point.
Okay.
I like that continuity a lot. And of course, and we often, I mean, continuity is a big theme of this program as well.
Yeah.
So dreidels. So
Dreidels.
dreidels were never a big thing in my household. We didn't really play dreidels. I don't know if that was just like the kids weren't interested
My
or
mother's
discomfort
dreidel.
around gambling. Who knows?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But what I don't know. What do you have a very interesting take on dreidels, I think.
So I love anything Jewish. And that's how I got to the dreidels. It wasn't that I had an affinity for the dreidels, but I just, it's another thing to collect that's Jewish. But when I lived in Israel, I saw the difference. I lived the difference between a sham dreidel, which is the miracle happened over there. This is my mother's dreidel, and this is the sham. Nes nun gadol haya sham, and the great miracle happened there. But in Israel, as you know, the dreidel reads Nes gadol haya ho, happened here. And what I've taken to doing with people I like, and my students in particular, is when I can, like my friends from Israel bring me bags of 25 plastic podredos.
Yeah.
Is I give them to the students, and you are the miracle.
Yeah.
You are the miracle. The miracle becomes you, not over there. You. And their parents and I like it.
Yeah. And I think
Do you like it?
I really like it. I mean, that's certainly not something I was taught in religious school, right? I was taught that the miracle happened there and in Jerusalem, and we have dreidels that say the miracle happened there. But in Israel, they'll have a dreidel that says miracle happened here. And there was never really more significance given to that. But
it took me a long time because I see so many students having no connections to these pieces of ornamentation. They don't even, the kids don't get it. So I had to make it so that the students got it. And the fact that the students, after all these years, keep coming to the Hereld House and keep doing the Jew, they get it.
Yeah.
They are the miracle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, right? I mean, the literal here-ness has a very kind of Yiddishkeit, Bundist sense of here-ness and Judaica to it, which we've talked about a little bit, and is also a theme of the Judaica that we talk about a lot in this program, and talking about the American Jewish experience, and very specifically focusing on New Haven as the Historical Society's mission. And there's also a very we've taught in our first session, and this is a theme that's continued through the rest of the program, is the idea of things becoming Judaica, candlesticks that weren't intended to be Shabbat candlesticks becoming used as Shabbat candlesticks. And there's something very real about, like, we instantiate physical objects with sanctity and holiness, right? And Judaica is Jewish ritual art, right? And there's something about turning that around and saying this podreidel is an example, right? Instantiation, a reminder of your own wholeness, right?
Yep.
You are the miracle.
You are the miracle.
And that, I mean, and that's what so much of this means for us as well, right? Culturally, as Jews, these symbols and reminders and having these, Judaica in your home and on your shelves, even if you're not, doing Shabbat every week, even if you're not,
Always do Shabbat.
even like
Yeah.
it's a reminder of who we are. And it's a very, very very tactile reminder. Particularly a dreidel is a very tactile reminder.
That's a dreidel again in the
Oh, this
Yemeni
is
tradition.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. But to me, working with students, if I don't bring it to them and make it of relevance to them, it doesn't apply to them. I don't know why, but I do know that the young people with whom I work are very different in how their Jewish skin embraces them
Mhm.
than I was.
Right.
And than my peers are. And once I can fit it into them, and I mean it, for these kids in 2023 to still self-identify as Jewish and try to live as Jewish a life as they can, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
That's as good a miracle as any other miracle.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you have a lot of really beautiful dreidels. There's no way we can show all of them. So I'm going to show this Yemenite one.
This is a Poe.
Oh, that's a pretty cool one
Yeah,
too.
all the nice ones are Poe ones.
So this is very kind of Mace Gadol Chaya Poe. This is a very, very recognizable Jerusalem series Judaica. This is a Mace Gadol Chaya Poe. This is like a Yemenite silver tradition. This is really cool.
They're nice.
Sorry. So with that, thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll open it up. I expect that we're going to talk for a while, so I'm very excited about this. And thank you all so much for joining us today.
It's right.